All right, welcome back. This part of the AWS AI Practitioner Challenge walkthrough will be on AI challenges and responsibilities. So, to introduce this, there's some responsible AI security, governance, and compliance issues you have to worry about, right? AI is becoming increasingly powerful, and it's making it essential to establish ethical, responsible, and safe boundaries. AWS emphasizes understanding the concepts before certification exams. So, this section will cover responsible AI, security governance, and compliance with a focus on ethical AI use. So here's a broad overview of the topics. Responsible AI. This means ensuring that AI systems are transparent and trustworthy, mitigating risks and negative outcomes throughout the AI lifecycle, from design to deployment and monitoring. Security. This means maintaining confidentiality, integrity, and availability of systems, data, and infrastructure. Governance. This is establishing policies, guidelines, and oversight to ensure legal and regulatory compliance, thereby improving trust. And compliance. This is adhering to regulations in sensitive domains like healthcare, finance, and legal applications. So, what is the responsible AI implementation? So, the core dimensions of responsible AI would be fairness. That means promoting an inclusive and preventing a discriminative environment. Explainability. This means ensuring that AI decisions are understandable. Privacy and security. Individuals will control when and how their data is used. Transparency. AI processes should be open and clear. Veracity and robustness. So systems must be reliable, even in unexpected situations. Governance. This must establish clear policies and oversight. Safety. Ensure AI algorithms are safe and beneficial. Controllability. Align AI models with human values and intents. The tools we're going to use to cover this include Amazon Bedrock, SageMaker Clarify, SageMaker Data Wrangler, SageMaker Model Monitor, Amazon Augmented AI, that's the A1 or the A21, SageMaker Role Manager, Model Cards, and Model Dashboards. And then we're going to cover interpretability and explainability. Interpretability is ensuring a human can understand why an AI made a decision. Explainability is understanding the inputs and outputs of an AI model without fully understanding its internal workings. Within this, you're going to have to feature and focus on human-centered design for explainable AI. That means amplified decision-making. So designing AI to assist in high-pressure environments by minimizing risks and errors. Unbiased decision-making. That means recognizing and mitigating biases in decision-making processes. And then human and AI learning. So AI systems should learn from human feedback and provide personalized learning experience. And user-centered design. So this ensures a wide range of users can benefit from AI systems. So first, let's go into Amazon Bedrock guardrails. All right, we've covered this already, but you want to see how it's applied. So we're at the dice, we go to machine learning, we go to Bedrock. Let me open that in another block. Okay, let's open this guardrails on another window. And give it a second to load up. All right, so guardrails are for content filtering. This is a good example of what you can use it for. Create the guardrail, name it, practice guardrail. All right, enter descriptive name, protective guardrail for explicit language, okay? And then you can start to update the blocked messages, right? So define this for the blocked, and we can save this, cross-region references. We can enable all of this. All right, go to next. Oops, no spaces. Okay, then configure the content filters, right? So you want to set this for, let's say, hate speech, insults, sexual violence, misconduct, right? Then you want to start to go and see how you want to set this, right? So for hate speech, you want to set these to high for strong filtering, none for no filtering. Low and medium, that's up to you. And then the guardrail action, block or no action, okay? And you can do that for each one of them. Insults for the appropriate level, sexual content, violence, self-harm, etc., right? And then you can prompt attack filtering, right? From here, you can enable prompt injection. So how would this do is, would it block or no action? And you can do it for text or images, okay? So let's do all of these. Let's just select them all just to have them. Okay, and this is for, okay, so enables detect blocked user inputs attempting to override system instructions. So this is a preventative prompt guardrail, all right? And then you can set your content filter tiers, classic for English, French, and Spanish languages, and then standard, it's a more robust solution for more languages. And you can opt into cross-region inference. You can do that for both, but we'll continue. All right. And so next we're going to go to denied topics. So let's click next. So denied topics, right? So from here, you can add a topic. All right. What would this topic be? Let's say medical advice, right? No medical advice offer, even added medical information. Why? Because you need to make sure that everything is set. Okay, so you need to get an example. Okay, so inputs, how would you enable this to block them? Outputs, how would you do this to block them? So that, what should I take to cure my heart problems? How should I use ivermectin? All right. What prevents an STD? Oops. Whoa. Did that? What prevents heart attacks? What prevents an STD? Should I use ivermectin? All right. Confirm. Okay, so we set these, had examples, click next. Okay. And this one will have different word filters. So we can do filter by profanities, inputs and outputs, and then custom words or phrases that we want to do. So we can add them manually, we can upload them from a file or from an S3 bucket. So we're gonna add a word or phrase. Let's see, we'll add that word, right? Add show errors, show all. Oh, let's delete this, delete that word. Okay, so we got that one. Add that word. All rows with errors. Okay. Just add a word or phrase. I am not doing this correctly. Give me a second. Input action, block, 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 block. Okay. So let's add that. All right, let's delete this. What did I just add? Man, I am not getting this correct. I can tell you that. Delete all rows with errors. Add word or phrase. Show all rows. Okay. All right, so we added something. I can't remember what, but I can't see. Show errors, show all rows, enable input on policy. We added something. It was either one of them. Okay, and then you can go for sensitive information, right? So PII types. So add new PII. You can choose this. Let's say email addresses. Confirm. Let's say CVV. Confirm. let's say social security number, confirm. So it'll block all of these, right? And then you can do regex patterns. So regex patterns are kind of ubiquitous patterns that you can get in order to block a number of different things. All right, so let's go for regex pattern. Give me a second to get a good example. Or, all right, let me enter the regex for a 10-digit phone number. All right. Okay, so this would be a good example for a US phone number. All right. So I copied and pasted this, right? So it goes for the 1 for the digits, and then 3 digits here for these digits in the middle, and then 4 digits for this in the hyphen. All right. So we're going to add that. Oh, okay. So we block that. All right. We're going to click next. Then we can do the human interventions, right? So this is where you can select an evaluation team, how much you want to ground this to see how factually correct this is. You know, the more correct, the less correct. The closer to 1 it is, the more correct it has to be. So you want to have it a little bit above 0.5. So the rules are already strict, but you're going to have a lot more ability for human intervention when the lower you are, okay? And then context will be block or no action. Then the relevance, you can adjust this as well, see if anything is relevant towards the user's query, and the model's response to it is, all right? So those are both around 0.7. 1 is definitely on 0.7. Click next, and you'll be able to create this. And so from this, you'd be able to block a lot of material, whether text or images, based off of harmful categories, messaging, prompts, explicit words, specific words, words and phrases, and personally identifiable information like email, credit card, social security, and a regex pattern for the phone number. Now, mind you, the phone number could be included in this PII types, but I just gave you an example of what a regex would look like. And you can always find a good book on regex or a good index on them. All right, and you click create guardrail, which we're not going to do, but that's just a good overview of how to do it. All right, so what are the challenges of Gen AI? So one is security implementation. For this, you have to be adaptable, responsive, creative, efficient, personalized, and you have to be scalable, right? So some of the challenges include regulatory violations. So this would be the difficulty in regulating Gen AI. Then there's social risks like the spread of misinformation. Then you have to worry about data security and privacy concerns. So you have to understand that users' data can be misused, and that's a huge risk for your company and for that user. Then you have toxicity. You don't want to generate offensive or inappropriate content, largely because you deal with a public audience or just a larger audience in your own personal taste. Then you have hallucinations. AI can generate plausible but incorrect information that can ruin your reputation. And you have to also worry about prompt misuse. That means poisoning, so introducing malicious data to influence AI outputs, hijacking, and prompt injection, meaning you embed specific instructions and prompts to alter AI behavior. Then you have to worry about exposure. That means the risk of revealing sensitive information during training or inference. Prompt leaking means unintentional disclosure of prompts or inputs used within a model. Jailbreaking, so it means circumventing AI safety measures to produce harmful outputs. This is a lot of information, but I want to give you some information on that. Okay, so how would you do some auditing of this situation? One, the baked in situation would be CloudTrail. Let's go over here, click CloudTrail. From the dice menu, I believe it would be under maybe security. No. Management, yeah, management and governance. Okay, so you'd be able to track your users' API activity, API activity across your whole situation. Okay, so one thing you can do is create a trail. All right, so You click create a trail. Let's say you name it AI service audit trail. Okay. Then you select a storage location, either create a bucket or use a new bucket. Select the type of S3, name it, have a log prefix, right? Which is that hash at the end of, or that forward slash at the end of it. Enable the KMS key so it can be encrypted and all items in it can be encrypted, or you can use a new or existing KMS with the alias entered here. Okay. And then you configure the trail settings even more. We'll go for new, log validation and new, SNS, new. Okay. And you can add tags. You should add tags. And you have a policy document as well for CloudWatch. So if any specific activities go, you have logs that will register for that. Click next. Oh, let me enter. There we go. Okay. Next. Okay. From here, you can configure the log events, right? So you're talking about management events. So this would be things that work on the large scale, big resources. Data events that would be objects within those resources. So think like an S3 bucket would be a major resource, and the data in that bucket being put, created, modified, that would be a data event. Okay, so select this type. Insight events would be for unusual activity, any anomalies that would go on in your account, and network activity. So this would help with monitoring any activity across your private endpoints. And then you can select different types of the different types of management events. So any reads, writes, and you can exclude certain things like the KMS, so any encryption, or the RDS data. So that means any of your databases. I wouldn't do that typically. I mean, you're going to have costs associated with it, but it's better to have a more secure environment than the less secure. Then you select your resource type for your data events, right? So where do you want to log it? I would say S3. So I want to say, let's see, S3, let's say table bucket, okay? Log all events, enter a name, that's optional. And then you have the JSON that shows the types that will go through here for the data, and you can add a data event type. You can add an insight event, so API call rates, API error rates. This helps with your unusual activities, right? But additional charges. So remember that. Then you can select your network activity events. You can do anything very specific. So for me, and this would be Bedrock, right? So it starts with the data events up here. You can add something like this, a Bedrock. You can add another event selector. So let's say SageMaker. Does that have it? No, SageMaker isn't in there. So you probably want a different one. Okay, that's fine. We don't need that. Let's remove that. All right. And you can see the JSON here shows the event source, the monitoring, the network activity of Bedrock. Okay. Click next. And then you'd see everything configured here for the trail name, multi-region, enabled. So that would, if you're using this in over, here's the logs, the encryption, the KMS key, log file, SNS notification, and you could tinker on that to make sure it gets notified to the specific place, whether it's an email, Slack channel, Microsoft Teams channel, whatever, and click create the trail. But we're going to cancel that and be okay. You also have another tool for resource compliant, that's config, AWS config. Okay, so config is good for compliance of all your resources within your system. Okay, so within config, oh boy, let's see. So we have to set this up. All right, get started. Okay, so this records everything that goes on in your system, right? So you can select record all resources, and this will be for a comprehensive monitoring of everything. Or you can select specific resources. So you could do something like, let's see if they have it, SageMaker. See all these SageMakers, or Bedrock. You can see Bedrocks all here. And then you can set the frequency, continuous or daily, and be able to have that configure snapshots. Okay, so you have the role for this to choose from, whether you create one specifically, which I think is always good, or choose one, and we don't have any for it. And then create a bucket choose one that already exists or a bucket from another account, but that means configuring your IAM conditions. And then create a bucket prefix or the bucket name if you're creating the bucket and a prefix, which is optional, and SNS topics for notifications. All right, so we'll click that, create a topic, config topic. We'll do all resources. Okay, that should be good. All right. Next, you're going to have everything that you can select as far as rules. All right, so let's find a couple of useful ones for AI. So encrypted, let's see, encrypted volumes, that'll be useful. So this makes sure that machine learning training will use encrypted storage. And then let's say I am password. All right, oop. Oh, I have encrypted in there, that's why. Oh, wow, I am. Password. Okay, I am password policy. This is good for using strong authentication, clear filters. S3 bucket. Okay, so SSL. Let's try SSL. S3 bucket SSL. Okay, so this ensures that there's secure data transfer. So any transfer to the bucket must be encrypted, data in transit. Okay, click clear filters, and then SageMaker. Let's do some SageMaker specifics. So SageMaker endpoint configuration. So this is for encryption for inference. Okay. And then SageMaker notebook instance KMS. Okay. So the endpoint configuration, this is for encryption for inference. And this one, the notebook instance KMS, this is for a secure notebook. All right. So we'll clear the filters. So we've selected a number of rules and you can see the ones. Oh, no. We'll click next. All right. And then we can do any remediations that we'll need here. So review. All right, so here we can see what we're going to have. Resource types with overrides. I am policy, I am user, I am role, I am group. The resource types with default settings, that's good. Scroll all the way down. All right, we see the delivery method, S3 with the config bucket, config topic, and then specific config rules right here that are optimized for our AI, and we would click confirm. And so at this point, it would record anything that goes off what normally should happen, especially with these config rules, okay? And then we can do some remediations after the fact, but we're gonna exit out from that, all right? But the remediations would be, it would be in the config setup, and you can set up SNSs with lambdas to make those changes as needed. All right. Then you have your inspector. Let's see. Security, Amazon inspector. Okay. So inspector is good for common vulnerabilities, but geez Louise. So this is vulnerability management at scale, right? So inspector, let's say get started. So this is if you had like a registry that was pulling out any compute instances or image scanning for EC2 or ECR, this is where you would configure this, right? So we've activated it. Let's see, delegated admin. Well, that would be this account. So we can activate inspect. Oh, gosh. I'd have to activate the whole thing. So we're going to move on. But basically, you would want to create an assessment template that would look for any machine learning infrastructure security, right? So it would look for any EC2s running machine learning workloads. And then you could create relevant security checks based off of those rules that you would have and set a time assessment frame, daily, monthly, weekly, whatever, and set a notification. And you create that and run. So sorry that we didn't get to go in this deeper, but this is just a good general overview. All right, next portion you have to worry about is compliance. So compliance is crucial in regulated industries, think like finance, healthcare, aerospace, right? So the challenge is that it's a complex and opaque system that you have to work with a lot of different things. So that means AI systems, sysadmins, dynamism, and how adaptable is AI going to be with being capable with this, and how is it going to handle the unique risks that AI can impose, like algorithm bias or privacy violations, right? So AWS has a lot of different security standards and compliance certifications that it can work with, that can work with, let's say, NIST or HIPAA or GDPR. So model cards are one tool that are used to standardize documentation for machine learning models. and it supports audit activity. And you also have service cards that are available for certain AWS AI services that can document the compliance and responsible AI practices. So let's see if, let's go back to config and see if we can set that up. All right. Okay, so let's go, let's see, one-click setup. No. So this would set up everything. Config is one good way to do this. Or, oh, let's see if we can do this. Audit. Okay, so audit manager is another good way. Okay, so here, set up audit manager for 30,000. Oh, Jesus. All right, so audit manager is a good way. You go here, let's see. If you're dedicated audit, okay, so you'd have to enable config, enable security hub. So this is a lot of stuff is tied together. All right, and then once configured, then you can set an assessment report, and that would allow you to generate a report to create a compliance assessment and then review findings of your environment using config, using security hub, and you'd have to have your encryption set up with this as well. And you could export that report, send it for your stakeholders, your CISO, your CTO, your CEO, whoever would need it. All right. And so basically you have to mind the basic incident response procedures. What is your detection? You're going to use something like Security Hub or CloudWatch. So CloudWatch alarms would send stuff to Security Hub, which would send notification. How are you going to investigate this? Going through CloudTrail logs or configs history. How are you going to contain it? Right. So that means setting up IAM policies up front or resource isolation with, say, security groups and maybe a forensic EC2 at the end. How are you going to remediate this? Can you do it automatically? So something like config to an SNS topic to an EC2 that can remediate that, right? To a Lambda, I'm sorry, that can do that. And then update that on a continuous basis. And then how are you going to document that? Something like Audit Manager could help to do that, to record incident details and your lessons. And then you have specific AI incident types, right? So model bias, how are you going to review the training data and the model? How are you going to deal with data leakage, right? How are you going to investigate the access that was the data that was accessed and what it was used for? How are you going to handle prompt injection, right? What are the inputs that need to be validated or filtered? And any unauthorized access. So it means reviewing IAM permissions and logs, right? So these are a lot of different pieces that you can set up within something like config, security hub, inspector, and monitor that on those tools or with the tools baked into SageMaker or whatnot. All right, so the next portion would be governance implementation. So governance is essential for building trust, ensuring responsible AI practices, and mitigating risks. It helps to establish clear policies, guidelines, and oversight mechanisms from that ensure like AI systems align with legal and regulatory requirements. All right, so there's a good governance framework, okay? One, you have an AI governance board, right? This is a team comprising of reps from your legal compliance, maybe your data privacy or AI subject matter experts. Then you'll have different roles and responsibilities. These will be people that define the oversight, the policy making, the risk assessment, and decision-making process. Then you'll have policies and procedures. So these are the people that develop policies covering the entire AI lifecycle. This is including data management, model deployment, monitoring, and auditing, okay? So you have a different governance strategies. Okay, let me see if I can copy and paste this in here. Nah, that doesn't look good. All right, so you have policies, right? Policies are principles for responsible AI, right? You have your review cadence. How often are you going to review with your subject matter experts, your legal team, your compliance team, right? What's your review strategy? Are you going to do a technical review or are you going to do a non-technical review? You really should do both, right? How's your model performing? What policies is it meeting or is it violating or is it getting too close to violating? Okay. And then what's your transparency standards, that explainability and that clarity, right? What information about your AI models are you willing to publish? And then what's the training? So how are you going to train teams on the policies, on mitigating bias and enabling responsible AI? And then what's your data governance strategy? So how are you going to govern the entire data lifecycle from collection, processing, storage, consumption, archiving, and how you're going to monitor that data quality over time, identify any anomalies, detect any drift, and then what are you going to do to document the source, the transformation, the usage of data to enhance transparency and accountability. So let's go to another place that's related to this. Let's say I am. All right. So we'll go to I am. All right. So for I am, it was very important. So to create something like a role, right? So this allows us limited scope. Let's say, do we want to do it for AWS service? Yeah, let's select this. And let's say use case. Let's say, let's say SageMaker. All right. Um, selected the entity. We got that set up. Next, we can call it AI data scientist. All right. And then you can have this set up. And you'll see everything set up here for the assume role, SageMaker full access, which really shouldn't be done that way. So let's edit that. All right. And this adds a lot of SageMaker capabilities, right? Especially the star. That's overly permissive, excuse me, right? But you can limit this as well. So let me see if I am able to set the permissions bound. Oh, I can set a permissions boundary. Maybe I can I go in here and edit this? No, I can't edit this directly. Let's go back. Search. I mean, this is overly suitable. We can create the tags for it, and we can make it read only for certain things. And permissions. You'll see the AWS policy for this. You know what? I know what I need to do. Give me a second. Let's do a custom trust policy. We'll go next. Let's do Sage Maker. All right. So we're gonna do a basic SageMaker. All right, SageMaker. We don't want to do fade. So we're gonna do, let's see what this is here. Put object, it's basic, basic, basic. This is good. Okay, we can do like, let's say, okay. Cluster. Okay. Um, SageMaker read only. Let's do that. And then SageMaker read only, full access. Uh, maker policy. Yeah, that would be suitable. Okay, let's do that. Custom policy, so assume role. Trusted entities will work with that. And then we can enter that. We can edit that again. We can go back with that. Let's click next. We could create the role and then be good to go. All right. And then you could do organizations for multi-account governance. So you could have this set up so that you can govern all of your accounts under your organization instead of like as your root account would be your organization, and configure that to run everything to limit what could be available. Read only access, write only access, go for specific access policies throughout different accounts in general. And then the roles within that would be even more limited. All right. Then you have, let's say, data privacy or data governance and privacy with Macy. All right. So we're going to leave that because we're not going to create that role, but that's just giving you an example of how you can do that. All right. So, oh yeah, Macy requires money. Okay. Macy is good. So with Macy, you can create a service role And I'm just going to tell you what it can do rather than create this and incur for further charges, right? But Macy is able to help you protect your data at scale. So you can block row level, column level for any sensitive data that might be out there, right? You can select buckets containing machine learning data sets. You can choose what percentage to scale, enable some PII detection. You can define specific patterns that you want to filter out. And so when it scans, it'll be able to do this, and you can set the different findings to have classifications of the data that might be in there. It can be high severity, low severity, medium severity, and then you can filter for different findings like PII, PHI, financial data. And then you can do stuff like archive it, suppress it, or investigate whatever findings might be there. That's a very big overview of Macy, but I want you to know that it's here as something that you will use with your environment. Next, we'll go for KMSs, right? So key management systems are great for encryption. Okay, you're going to have a lot of keys that you're going to have to manage. Most of mine are scheduled for deletion. The 7 to 30-day window is usually what it has. All right, so what you're going to do is, let's say you want to do a key action. You can do AWS managed key, customer managed key, whatever. All right, so we're in the customer managed key. We're going to create a key, symmetric key. So this can encrypt or decrypt data with the right codes, right? So we're going to have it decrypt with this. Advanced options, let's see what we have here. KMS, recommended. We're going to go for that one. There's also Cloud HSM. These cost more. I don't have external key material to import or an external key store, so it's not really important for me. Single region. So if we're doing an organization, we can have a multi-region. That would be great. We click next. Add labels for it. AI key, right? Add the tags that will be relevant for this. For governance, you do this for your AI team, team, machine learning. This is however your organization decides this, right? So this can be tracked and you can monitor what's being used. Team, owner, Alex, dev, ops, Bodo. Okay. And then you could just keep going and going and going. Whatever your team decides on, that's what you run with. Click next. Then you select key administrators, right? So I'm going to select these to be the administrators. All right, the most important ones are these ones that would be more relevant with your AI tools. But the ones I already have for my super users would be these three right here. Okay. Allow admins to delete this key, so anyone not selected will not be able to delete it. Click next. And then you could define key usage. So we decided who can manage it, and now we can select all for anyone who can use it. Okay. And then we can click next. So now we can see what the key policy is. It's a lot. This is a lot. So these are, boom, these are the admins. And these are the things that the admins can do. Okay. Create it, describe it, enable, list, read, tag, encrypt, all that stuff, right? And then you have who can use it. And so that's everyone. Oh, it only selected the first page. Never mind. And they can encrypt, they can read it, or by decrypt, they can re-encrypt it, generate a new key, describe that key. Okay. And that will go on and on and on. Okay. And it'll go on down. And now you'll see what's available here. So this will be important for how are you going to encrypt your data when it's on the AWS environment, whether it's being processed, whether workloads are being generated from it, and then are those workloads encrypted? All right. All that is important. We're going to click cancel, but that is good to walk you through the process. Next, you have monitoring and alerting. So we're going to go to CloudWatch. Okay. All right. So CloudWatch, this is how you monitor your resources and applications. Okay. So from here, you want to create dashboards to monitor all the things that you could do. All right. So we're at dashboards. We're going to create a dashboard. We're going to call it AI governance dashboard. Now this doesn't cost, so I'll create it. I mean, it will cost if I keep going. All right. So we're going to add widgets. All right. We're going to add, let's see how much. Let's do data table. Yeah. Okay. So let's do Sage by resource, SageMaker, create a widget. And then This will just give you the tables to show SageMaker over time, right? You can add Bedrock API calls. You can do a lot of different stuff. All right, so we can add this, apply this. We can delete this. We can duplicate this, okay? And this will be great. And then you can, you could save the dashboard. Let me see, period, settings, link charts. All right, let's go back to dashboards. Delete that. I'm gonna delete that. CloudWatch. What am I missing? All right, you can look at logs. You can look at the dashboards. All right, let's just create the default. All right. Okay, this is what I want to show you. Okay, alarms. Okay, so from here, you can go for alarms right here. An alarm. You can create an alarm. And from here, you can set a relevant metric for something like SageMaker, access, API call patterns, config rules, security, right? So you create this alarm, you select that metric that would be on your dashboard, and boom. And you can set it up to send a notification based off of the threshold that it passes, and then have that alarm set to enact whatever you need to. All right. And then you would have Security Hub. All right, so this is AWS's Security Center. All right, it's integrated to be used with a lot of different pieces. And I have to configure it for the overview. But you can see these are the security standards that amongst a lot that can be configured with this, right? So this is the AWS foundational, CIS AWS, and then you have CIS, NIST, PCI DSS, and you can go and see all the standards as well. Your goal would be to enable this, enable all the security standards that are listed here, and then configure any findings that you would need right here, okay? And then you could go here. See, there's already a couple findings in this region. What is it saying? Yeah, so config should be enabled, which is not. And you can enable all of these findings, go for it, create AI-specific security views for like SageMaker, Bedrock, anything along those lines, and be good to go. And you can set up automated responses depending on what's going on based off the widgets, and then you would be good to have a more secure environment and be able to notify your team of what's going on. All right, and then let's go for SageMaker. All right, let's see what SageMaker has. We've gone over this, I believe. All right. SageMaker, let's see. Okay, so SageMaker, am I in the right one? Ooh, I don't think I'm in the right one. Let's try this. I'll close that out. All right, so SageMaker, yeah, here we go. SageMaker AI Studio. Okay, so with here, let me see. Model cards. This is where I wanted to get. All right, so model cards, these would be useful to create, right? So you can document your model's information. Create the model card, AI, model card status, draft, enable encryption, your model name that you would go find it, artifacts that you would have, your inference environment, and you go on and on to fill out this information for the intended uses to document this, right? This is good for your governance and your compliance and especially your audit, right? This will go for the limitations, any risk ratings, any ethical considerations, any training details, and then you'd be good to go. All right. Click next. I mean, this is not going to work. Oh, all right. Well, you can add more information that's relevant to this. All right. And then let's see. Oh man. Oh, all right, that's where it is. All right, AWS artifact. This is where you get a lot of your compliance reporting. All right. So if you go to artifact, go to reports, this is where you can get AI service cards. Okay. So you can find this for, let's say, SageMaker. All right. So here you find basically information on SageMaker. So this would be documentation that shows what AWS has actually done to ensure relevance, security, compliance for your environment. This is key for any stakeholder business you'd have. All right. And you can do this for other tools as well. Let's see, Bedrock. I'll probably have to remove Sage. Yeah, it's not going to have. So Bedrock, boom, you have all this. And you can go through all the different resources that you would typically make. All right. And then let's see. Um, all right. And then your final bet, and we're not going to show this because that might be a little too secure, but I'll show you a little snapshot. Make sure you know what your budget is. Okay. That's going to be most critical. So go to AWS budgets. Billing and cost management, right? And from there, and you can see this little snapshot here, how much I've spent this month. What have I spent it on? How have I spent it on? Set a budget, set an alert for your AI or any of your machine learning. Set it up for any weekly, daily, monthly notifications, and set it for certain services like SageMaker, Bedrock, Comprehend, Recognition, anything that you're using. Set the threshold. You don't want to be surprised and get a $5,000 bill. Set it for $5, $10, $50, $100 so that you know what you're doing. But at this point, since we didn't do anything, we're going to clean up nothing because we didn't create anything. So we're good to go. So I hope that gives you an overview of how this works. And I hope you appreciate it. I don't think I said it at the beginning, but like, subscribe, share this with anyone you know who's taking the AWS AI Practitioner exam. But until then, have a good day. Thank you.